comment. This meeting is being held under COVID-19 special regulations, which allow for remote participation. The select board is all present. Advise people not to share their screen, and anything said during this meeting will be recorded and be a matter of public record. We have one public item on our agenda, and then we have two consent items, one the consent agenda and the other the appointment agenda. Mr. Bullion?
Chairman, I would move the consent and the appointments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Matt Burley seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, we come to the vote. Matt?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so that's unanimous. So we'll wait until all of the parties to the public hearing item are present.
Mr. Chair, I believe that the representative from Eversource is here. Would you like me to bring them in?
Please.
It's allowed to talk. And I will bring in the developer or the builder as well.
Okay.
Hi, this is Christine Cosby.
Hi, welcome, Christine. I'm Mo Handel, Chair. Who is presenting for Eversource? You are.
My name is Christine Cosby from Eversource.
Welcome. Before we begin your presentation, let me make sure the paperwork is all in order. Kate, is the paperwork all in order for this request?
It is, Sandy, correct? Yes, it is.
Okay. Ms. Crosby, the floor is yours. Can you give us some background on this and then what you're seeking?
Yes, we are requesting permission for an installation of conduit located at pole 39/2 on Bancroft Street. And it's for roughly about 7 feet of conduit. And it is to supply service to the new home that's being built out there at number 12 Bancroft Road Street.
Okay. Before we go to board questions, thank you very much for that. Is there anybody here from the public? This is a public hearing. Is there anybody here from the public who has an interest in this matter? Sandy, do we have any indication that there's anybody here?
Mr. Chair, we have the builder because this was a situation where the whole grant of location went backwards and everything has been set up and installed. And Mr. White is the builder and we asked him to be here.
Okay. Mr. White, are you present? Yes.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I can't see myself and everything's echoing here, so it's hard to hear anything.
Okay, so this is an instance where the work was done before the grant of location was given?
Yes.
Can you explain to us how this would have happened?
We didn't know. We went down and pulled a permit, electrical permit, and when the inspector came out, he said that we need to have a grant of location, which I'd never heard of. I haven't done underground service before. I built in Needham. But everything I've done has been overhead 200 amps and or existing. The only underground I've ever done is about 3 years ago. I did something in Newton, and there was none of this. We just pulled the permit and did the work, and that was it. So it was all news to me that we had to have permission from the town and meetings and all that. So that's.
All right, just so you're aware, Mr. White, we've been having a continuing issue with this, which is why you may feel some discomfort on the part of the board, but I'll open it up for comments or questions.
Okay.
Mr. Matthews and then Mr. Bullion.
Yeah, I'll just speak a little to this. It's Mr. White, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you probably know this by now, but just to repeat, when you're going underground,
I can't hear anything. Should I sign off and try to sign on again or something? Because everything's double.
If you may want to try to, well, I'll leave that to you.
Hold on with me. My son's trying to figure this out. Hang on a second.
You might want to put your microphone on mute while somebody else is speaking. That may help you.
Oh, wait, I think it might be okay. And I don't know.
You were signed in twice, so,
Oh, now I think I'm okay.
okay.
Go
I
ahead,
don't see my
Mr.
picture on here, but I don't know. All right, try again. I'm sorry. Let's see if I can hear you.
Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, can you hear okay, Mr. White?
Yep, now it seems okay.
Okay. Yeah, this has to do with the fact that when you go underground, you're actually using an easement. And because that's an easement in the right of way, which is public property, it requires this process that we use. I think you're correct that in most cases, it's pretty much, if not housekeeping, not too far from it. It's not a big issue as long as there's a public record. But we have had instances in Needham where the neighbors are concerned for one reason or another, or there's objection to the point on the property where a pole is to be located as part of one of these things, or potential damage to nearby tree roots, or some other problem.
I
And
understand.
it's important that people get a chance to have a say about that, and that we sort those issues out before the work gets done. That's why in Needham, you have to do this. I know this is the first time you've done this, but and hopefully that will guide you in the future. While I have the floor, Mr. Chairman, I did want to speak a little more about this. We've had more of these, and we've had a problem with this, but it seemed to me to be largely on the way to being under control. But I think the combination of the reduced amount of communication that face-to-face communication that we have with the contractors that the town staff has with the contractors under the COVID conditions, together with the fact that people who are not necessarily the usual suspects. We have new contractors coming into town, which is a good thing, but it means that not everybody knows all the rules from the beginning, and they're not always easy. So I think we had some talk earlier this week or at our last meeting about a similar instance, and I think that it would make sense perhaps that we review with inspection and permitting exactly how we can make sure that people come in, or people that are applying for these permits are notified, and that it's made clear so that they actually understand it, that if they're going to be seeking an underground installation, they have to go through the process before the work is done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. John Bullion?
Thank you. Mr. White, thank you for joining us this morning. I think the issue is, as you know, just I'll echo Dan's comments, but I'll also say, I think if you're going to, or as you do more work in Needham, that it's good. I think it's good practice and respectful practice to reach out to the neighbors, the abutters on either side of the property, and just make sure that the construction project is being done in a manner that is respectful and is in accordance with, not becoming a burden on the immediate abutters. This is an example of, like Dan said, where we have, not in this particular case, but we've had situations in the past where the builder has done the work, has trenched the conduit, and there have been unintended consequences that could have been resolved had the builder reached out to the abutter and had a conversation. And so just so that you're aware going forward, I guess, Kate, I am concerned that I thought we had made sure that put on the building permit applications that it is clear that builders that do underground service, that they have to come through this process. But we keep getting these. So
Yeah, it wasn't clear. I mean, I didn't pull the permit. The electrician is the person that actually pulls the permit, so they maybe need to be more educated. But I think with all the COVID and stuff, you really can't go into the building department, so it's tough to speak, face to face with the inspectors. We used to pop in all the time and ask questions. But, the last few months, we haven't been able to do that. So, yeah, it was just a complete, I don't know, misunderstanding. We called for an inspection and everything. We were all ready to go. And the inspector came out and said, hey, you can't do this until you have a granted location. And I think it was the first time any of us heard of that. So it was completely unintentional. As for the
I
abutters-
believe it's clear on the street occupancy permit.
I didn't pull the street occupancy permit. I don't know what that would probably be up to the, I think excavation crew or, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I apologize for any misunderstandings. I obviously wasn't trying to sneak anything in, and I didn't mean do any harm with this. So
Thank
if
you.
I knew, I
Mary-
would not have done it, obviously, but.
Thank you. Mary Ann had her hand up and then Matt Burley.
Yes, so I think this process has been interesting, and we continue to hear the same thing, that the permit is pulled by somebody else. It strikes me that I'm presuming that the builder actually pulls his own building permit. And if
Correct.
that's the case, then that may be the location for this language, given that it comes perpetually. So, and maybe there's particular focus when we know that the builder is new to Needham, because that also seems to be a common thread.
Right. Thank you, Mary Ann. Matt?
Yeah, just a couple things. We all know, as a builder or developer, you're ultimately responsible for those subs under you. So I understand that the paperwork might not be clear on the building permit, but and we've made an effort to have it in other places so that there is an alert. I will say that now that it's moved to online, it might be easier where it asks the builder, are you looking for an underground service? And they click yes. And then it asks them, okay, kind of stops and gives them text and says, okay, you will need A, B, C, and D. Do you agree? And then maybe sets out a fine schedule if they do not comply with those regulations. But I think online, the way it walks you through now, it can stop you and either have you submit paperwork at that time or give a warning. So I know it's more work for staff to kind of put that in, but that might be a solution so we stop getting these. And I know if you hook up your plumbing to a meter without the town hooking it up, there's a fine for that. And a lot of towns, people hook up their own meters. Needham, it's different. Needham, you have to call the town to hook up your meters, but some people don't know the rules and they do it, and there is a fine for that. So, I know it's easy to say I didn't know, but we have to come to some type of resolution so this doesn't keep happening.
Let me ask a general question here, which is there any role for Eversource in this since the service comes through them? Should they not be inquiring when they get a request as to whether or not there's a grant of location or an easement? I'm asking in general here. I mean, Matt, you do some building.
I don't know. I think it's supposed to come through. I don't know if it's Eversource's responsibility at that time. I don't know if Chris can speak to that or not. But I just will finish with this and saying we're having a special meeting here because ultimately the homeowner would be the one who suffers if it doesn't go the right way. So that's why we're doing this today. And, I know that this will ultimately benefit the homeowner and not to stand on ceremony here and say, you got to do something different. So,
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, could I say one more thing is that we do keep a
course.
list. We do keep a list and, the board has discussed finding on a second offense and we have a lot of first offenses and I think only one once. Is there ever a second offense?
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody from the public who
There's
has?
a hand raised in the,
Yes.
Say again?
We have Todd Skelton has raised his hand. Would you like him to speak?
Please.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Skelton.
Good morning. I am the fortunate homeowner on the other end of this. So first, I'd like to thank you for calling a special meeting. And Matt, thanks for calling that out. There's myself, my wife, my 6-year-old, and most importantly, a 1-month-old child who are on the way this week to move from Maryland up here to Needham. So, I know Joe well enough in the last 6 or 7 months or 8 months actually that we've been working together. And I would tell you also, I know all my neighbors. So we've met them all. Good folks. I can tell you, Joe does a lot of work for all the neighbors around. He's the guy that wants to paint the next door neighbor's door for her because he doesn't want her to get taken advantage of, and so on and so forth. So I just want to speak a little bit on his behalf, but most importantly, I just wanted to thank you for calling a special meeting. It's pretty extraordinary. Didn't expect it, but it much appreciated, and probably more than me, my wife. So thanks to all of you. I appreciate it. Look forward to being a Needham resident.
And thank you and welcome to Needham, Mr. Skelton.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from members of the board or the public? Hearing none, is there a motion? Mr. Bullion.
Chairman, I would move that the select board approve and sign a petition from Eversource Energy to install approximately 7 feet of conduit in Bancroft Street. This work is necessary to provide underground electric service to 12 Bancroft Street.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? That brings us to the vote. Mr. Borelli?
Yes.
Mr. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Bullion?
Yes.
Ms. Cooley?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. That's unanimous. The permit is granted. Thank you. Is there any further business before the board? Mr. Bullion?
I would move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we come to the vote. Mr. Borelli?
Yes.
Mr. Bullion?
Yes.
Mr. Matthews?
Yes.
Ms. Cooley?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. And again, Mr. Skelton, welcome to Needham. Thank you all.
Thank you.